So this is the Anker SOLIX C1000. Anker SOLIX power stations are, I would say, among the easiest to recommend. If you saw my top portable power stations video, Anker showed up more than once in there. And they make some really great products. And this C1000 is honestly no exception. It's a compact portable power station with a ton of versatility. Like, versatility is really the name of the game with this product, making it ideal for like camping, throwing in a truck to, power up your power tools on a job site, powering a TV or like a router during a power outage, or just like straight up tailgating and using this to power, I don't know, like a blender or whatever you have with you. Like I said, versatility is absolutely key with this portable power station. It's ultra fast charging, has solar charging capabilities, 11 ports on the front. It's a lightweight, compact form factor with a very competitive price, a really high surge output, and a lot more we're going to talk about throughout this video. But let's start off with just kind of a quick rundown of what this product is. After that, we can talk about the use cases, the comparisons, and what other top competing brands really stack up like against this. Now, of course, I'm always completely transparent. This product was sent to me by Anker, so thanks to Anker for sending this over, for partnering up in this video. Now, my opinions cannot be bought, and we have quite a few tests to run in this video, so you can see for yourself just exactly what this device is or is not capable of. So let's start off with a quick rundown here. On the front, let's look at the ports we have. We have 6 AC ports across the bottom. If you look all the way over on the right side, you'll see it says surge pad. That one actually allows a higher output, up to 2,400 watts of surge power. The other ones, typical output here is going to be 1,800 watts, which is really quite impressive considering the size of this. We'll talk more about the competition a little bit later in the video. But like I said, I've reviewed a lot of portable power stations that are around the 2,000 watt mark, and they're usually substantially larger than this. So it's kind of a newer thing. Like, others are starting to do this size, but I just love seeing that kind of power output in something so compact. Of course, on the top left, we have our 12-volt car socket. This would be great for, like, I don't know, a heated blanket or a compressor or whatever you have that plugs into that, specifically if you're camping, like maybe like an air mattress might plug into that. Then we have our little USB ports right here. 2 of them are USB Type-C. These are IQ ports, IQ3 ports, and Anker has been making a ton of charging bricks for so long. That's what I use in my car, in my office. Like, pretty much every time I charge my phone, it is with Anker. So it's cool to see those on here. Both 100 watts. They can power a laptop. They can power your phone. Like, charge up anything with USB-C very, very quickly. And we have 2 USB Type-A ports over on the other side. Of course, we have across the top this little LED. So this has 3 levels. Let me turn the device on first. We have our power button right next to the display. And the display, of course, shows us the battery percentage, as well as some icons if it's connected to our phone, what's being used right now, if the AC is enabled, if the DC is enabled. A lot is really shown on that display there. And I'll show you the app in a minute. You can not only see a lot in the app, but also control a lot in the app as well. But once it's on, you can just press this little white button on the top, and we have, it's kind of hard to see because I'm in a really bright studio. I'll show you some B-roll of using this in a darker environment. We have 3 levels of LED brightness here, and it's kind of a warmer tone, which could make it nice for camping. It's not going to be swarmed as hard by like moths and flies. Also, it's a warmer tone. It's just kind of nicer in the evening if you're camping or something like that. Talking about the other buttons we have here, only 3 other ones I want to talk about. One is going to turn on the AC on the bottom. If we do that, you can see really not much noise. You hear it click. But we'll get into a volume test later. A lot of other portable power stations I've tested tend to kind of turn on a fan and get a lot louder as soon as you turn on the AC. This tends to be a lot quieter. Of course, we've got the DC right there, turning that on, totally silent, no surprise there. And then here is the little connect button to connect to the app on your phone. All right, on either side, we have nice handles, making it easy to grip. This is only about 28 pounds, so not especially heavy. I think most people could move this around fairly easily. Again, set it on like a picnic table, a truck bed, whatever. On the right side of this, we have a little flap that opens, and we have a port there that we can expand this with a second battery you can stack on top. That will double the overall capacity of this. This battery alone is 1,056 watt hours, so you could expand it up to like 2116, I think, or something around there. But again, that's really nice that you can expand it if you just want that extra power on there. Turning around to the back, there's not a whole lot here. Just says designed by Anker Innovations. And on the other side, so this will be the left side if you're looking at the front of the device, this is where we can actually have our charging inputs, which, although the outputs are really versatile and exciting, I would say the inputs are also equally as important on this device. So the AC port right there, the typical AC port, you don't need a special charger for this. This is a really common cable, which is great. If you ever lose it, you can just find another one. This supports up to 1,000 watt charging, but you could dial it down to a slower charging for battery health reasons, or if you just want it to be a little quieter while it charges. And I'll show you again, you can control that within the app. But if you're charging at 1,000 watts, you can do the math. This thing is 1,056 watt hours. It charges in about 58 minutes. We'll run a test and see how well that actually performs, but 0 to 100% in less than an hour, I think is really quite impressive. They call that Hyper Flash, is just the charging name they're using for this. Then, of course, we have our XT60 port for solar charging, and it does support up to 600 watts of DC input here. Of course, you could also use other forms of DC input as well, like if you have a port charging in your car, something like that, that could work. And of course, we have a little reset button in the middle in case you trip the circuit. All right, so that might seem impressive, right? I mean, especially if you haven't seen a portable power station in a couple years, but the competition's honestly pretty stiff. So let's talk about what the competition looks like for this and some of the key metrics. Starting off, this right here, Anker C1000, I'll kind of make, or Amir, our editor, can make a chart for you guys. So the Anker C1000 is $649. It's 1,800 watts, 1,056 watt hours of power energy being stored, 28.44 pounds, and it has 6 AC ports. So that is this device right here. Jackery, of course, is a really popular brand as well. They make the Jackery 1000, which is the same price, $649. It has a really similar storage of 1,002 watt hours, a little bit lighter at 22.04 pounds, but the drawbacks is that it only has 3 AC ports instead of 6, and it only has 1,000 watts instead of 1,800. Now, having fewer AC ports, you might not think is going to be a big deal when you only have like 1,000 watts output, but for me, a lot of that's not going to be used to power really large devices. A lot of times, like I'm out at a campsite and I have like my drone I want to charge and a bunch of other devices, and so having multiple ports I find to be really nice. A third competitor is going to be the EcoFlow Delta 2. EcoFlow makes some fantastic products, and a lot of the specs stack up here. We'll talk about their drawback in a second. So they have 1,800 watts, about the same as this, 1,024 watt hours, again, very similar to this. It's 27 pounds, so it's about 1 pound lighter than this. It does have 6 AC ports, but only 2 of them are 3-prong ports, again, for like drone chargers and stuff like that. Probably not a big deal, but that one is $699. And then we have the Bluetti AC180. Now, Bluetti has a slightly different setup to their lineup. So it's 1,800 watts, just like this. It's 1,152 watt hours of energy storage, so a little bit more than this. It's 35.3 pounds, so it's substantially heavier than this. It only has 4 AC ports. So that is kind of like the specs alone comparing these devices. Obviously, I'm going to get in some tests now and kind of look at the nuances like the volume, the max load, the real charging speed, what it's like to actually use this device to see how it actually stacks up against those other competing products. Because like I said, they're all very reputable brands and they're all great products as well. So it's going to come down to the nuances for you to figure out which one is actually the best one for you. All right, so test number 1 is a TV test. This is a Sony Bravia 65-inch X93L, and it powered it for 7.3 hours. This does not include the sound bars, but I think that's really quite impressive. And then now that the battery's drained, test number 2, I wanted to charge this all the way up to 100%. And so we're going to be doing this and testing how fast it actually charges. But before we actually start that, just when you plug it in, you'll notice that charging at the regular mode charges at about 500 or 600 watts, and as you can hear right here, it's essentially silent. Now going in the app and turning on ultra fast charging mode, this then continues to charge up from 4% all the way up to 100% in 58 minutes here. Had we included this in the very beginning, the first couple percent, I think maybe it would have been 59 minutes, but overall I was quite impressed by the charging speed of this. However, the volume is certainly a bit louder. There's a fan that kicks on, as you can hear right now. So you may not always want to use ultra fast charging. It is a setting you have to enable in the app, and by default, like I said, it charges quite silently. Test number 3 then, we're gonna drain this battery using my refrigerator. This is a fairly large Samsung refrigerator. You can see the specs right here of it. And it powered the fridge for 11.2 hours total. Now, refrigerators are kind of weird because they don't run nonstop. They'll turn on and off based on the temperature, of course. So the temperature of my house was mid to upper 60s. And like I said, 11.2 hours. I was getting water, opening the fridge, doing a lot of normal stuff. I was quite impressed by how long the fridge was able to last here. So now that the battery is once again dead, I'm gonna take this outside and charge it up just a little bit using solar panels. All right, so now I wanna get into a quick solar charging test. You can see we have a port right there for solar charging. It also comes with a cable in the box, as well as a cable to charge by car as well, so you can use that port for either one. I have some third-party solar panels right here. Anker will probably have the better ones that work more seamlessly with this, but these are 400 watt solar panels. We can handle up to 600 watts on here. It's a little bit late in the day, so I don't expect much power out of this, but if you just plug it in, it should probably take maybe 15 to 30 seconds. There we go. It's registering. Right now it says 0 watts, 16 watts. It's turning 36 watts. It's kind of increasing now. Like I said, it's very late in the day, 45 watts. But that's still quite impressive. So those should be charging this in about a day. Like I said, this is very late in the evening right now. So in full sunlight, this could theoretically charge with 600 watts in, I believe, about maybe a couple hours. Now, a question that I imagine a lot of people have, and I've seen this a lot in comments before, is can you plug things in while it is charging? And so the first test of plugging it in while it's charging with AC in a house, as you can see right here, the answer is yes, you can still plug things in and it still works. Going outside to my car, plugging this in by DC, and this would be the same, of course, if you're plugging in with a solar panel as well. You can see once again, the answer is also yes. You can plug in things and still use the battery while it's simultaneously charging. Now let's get into a quick little display visibility test. If it's very bright out, it's not the easiest to see this display. It's still definitely possible, but I end up like holding my hand over it to kind of shade it a little bit just so I could see a bit easier. And now let me show you the app. It's very simple and well designed, I would say. On the top, you can see the battery is clearly charging. It's at 25%. It's 66 degrees Fahrenheit. If you're doing ultra fast charging, it might get a little bit warmer. So it's really nice. You see all of your metrics in one place there. We can see the DC input and the AC input down here. 622 watts of AC input. And if I wanted that to charge a little faster, I can kick on the ultra fast charging, and that should jump up to around 1100 watts. It'll do that in just a second. If we go down here, you can see the outputs and exactly how many watts each USB output is doing. We could then see the carport, the AC watt output, of course, is going to be a chart down here as well. You can turn that on or off remotely. You can control the brightness of the LED on the front, and you can choose if the display is on or off. And even more than that, if we go, right there you can see, by the way, it did go up to about 1400 watts actually. So if we go into settings on the top, we can choose the default AC recharging power. So right here I have it maxed out at 1000 watts. We can have the unit timeout, tell it to go to sleep after 12 hours. We can have an SOS mode for the light. So maybe if your car breaks down, you can set this down on the side of the road and have it blinking. We can choose the screen brightness, turn that up to high. We can choose a screen timeout. I have it set to the maximum of 30 minutes, just obviously so I could film this. But then down here, other things like the temperature controls, we have the device name, the Wi-Fi, so this does connect to Wi-Fi. So if I leave my house, I can still monitor everything and make sure my fridge is still powered up, even if I'm not around to watch this in person. All right, so let's talk about the use cases for this. Obviously, if you're trying to back up an entire home, you're going to need a little bit more power than this, and there are other offerings from Anker that can provide that. But what I think this would really be ideal for, there's really 4 or 5 main use cases. One that is probably the most fun would be glamping or camping, if you want to call it that. Really, it's not like if you're in a campground and you have like a big battery bank, I'd consider that glamping. But it's really useful. Like I still do that. If I go to the beach and I have like a tent and I'll bring this, I can have a fan in there so it's a little bit cooler. You can charge up your phones, power like some lights or whatever. Like you can do a lot. And it's really cool that this device is so portable. It can set next to your bed in a tent. Acts as like a little nightstand for me. I love having that. The second one, probably my favorite one actually, is tailgating. So tailgating, you're in no way trying to be a minimalist here. You want to bring as much as you can to a tailgate, and this really allows you to bring more. You could plug in a fridge to this. You could plug in a blender to make some really fun cocktails. You could plug in a TV to watch the game or like the pregame stuff. There's a lot you could do obviously at a tailgate and just throw this in like the bed of a truck for tailgating. Of course, in a more serious environment, emergency backup would be a great use for this as well, because this can easily store in a closet. Maybe you don't have a giant generator because you're either in an apartment or maybe you just don't want to put that in your house. This is so useful. So you can power like your router or like charge up your phones or you know, charge up flashlights, stuff like that. Whatever you need during a power outage, this could be really useful. And actually my parents use a device like this absolutely all the time. Like they lose power. It sounds weird, they lose power probably every 3 weeks just because there's all these dead ash trees around from the emerald ash borer. So pretty nice to have a device like this to power up smaller things in their home without having to turn on a giant gas generator every single time. And then, of course, powering up power tools. I personally have done that a lot of times. Having the 1800 watts on here or the 2400 watt surge over on the other side is really quite nice for really any power tools I use. If you're using like drills or even some smaller saws, definitely get the job done with this. So throw it again in a truck bed, go to a job site. You're able to do a lot just from this without having hundreds of feet of extension cables to the nearest building. And then maybe the last use case I think that would really be fun here would be like backyard parties. Again, so you don't have really long extension cables if you're trying to run like, I don't know, karaoke or whatever. If you just need some kind of power way back in your yard, this could be absolutely the thing for that. So kind of in conclusion, it's definitely a very competitive space. There's a lot of innovations coming out, but Anker, I would say, has been innovating, if not the most, very, very close to the most out of the entire market. And while they beat others on specs alone with this device, I think they also win when it comes to nuances. Like the faster charging when you're heading out for a camping trip or something like that, maybe you forgot to charge up. The 1 hour charging is really pretty clutch. Additionally, the massive amount of outputs we have on the front are also really nice for charging drones and phones and camera batteries and other stuff like that while you're out and about. And I think overall, this product, like I said, is just super versatile. You can use it pretty much anywhere, which again, makes my job really easy. Like if you want a portable power station, the Anker SOLIX C1000 is pretty easy to recommend.